Welcome everyone to the fifth and final portion of the series on Maine speakers. I will share with you that my wife chose this one for me out of the 3 or 4 that TJ provided to me. She shared with me that as a police officer, lots of crisis de-escalation and learning how to speak to people and how to speak with them and to them versus at them really kind of helps with the communication piece. So as you can see here in the introductions, when it comes necessary for us to do to communicate and to be a successful basketball official, the art of communication is truly important. And when managing difficult situations, when we're managing those situations, those challenging situations, we need to understand that good officials have always had that communication skill. We're just going to kind of frame it. I'd really like to get it bigger, TJ, if I can, but I don't know where.
I can't help you with your own screen. I don't know how to do that.
Yep.
Are people out there seeing a full screen?
Well, that helps a little bit right there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of the word difficult, perhaps we could use challenging. And part of the outline tonight, we're going to look at perhaps looking at double whistles, double or multiple whistles, clock awareness, last second tries, those help situations and conferences and injury situations, and then the unusual ones that I can tell you that by definition, challenging. We don't talk a lot about them in our pre-games, and I think pre-game is perhaps the most crucial part of what we do. Getting together before a game and having that conversation. And I will certainly tell you that some of the unusual situations or challenging situations that we probably don't talk a lot about, we don't want to talk about, we don't care to, or if our referee is running the meeting, running the pre-game, it probably doesn't necessarily come up in our conversation. And these things would be like the referee's authority. God forbid if we have a fighting issue, if we have scoring and timing errors, correctable errors, we're probably sitting there as our referee is speaking, thinking to ourselves, I'm not the R tonight. Hopefully that won't happen, but if it does, it'll be his or her issue, not mine. And of course, last and foremost on this is forfeiture, protests, and interrupted games under Rule 5.4. So let's try this and try and define the word challenging. Just bear with me for a moment while we do this. If you look at Merriam-Webster under the word challenging, challenging is an arousing or an intense event. And certainly when we talk about dealing with basketball games, anywhere you go in the state, any one given night could be a barn burner, or it could be a couple of 0-17 teams looking for that one win, and it's your assignment. The pregame is absolutely vital in order to make sure that we're all on the same page. When we talk about pregame conferences, we want to try and be thorough. We want to talk about taking your time on making calls, making sure that you have the rules understood, reviewing procedures for the double and multiple whistles, maintaining clock awareness and last second tries. There's a couple of great videos shortly that we'll share with you what happens in a last second try when the crew may not be on the same page and it leads to some controversy or a very poor taste in a lot of people's mouth. And of course, end of game and quarter procedures. Ready when you are, TJ. The pregame conference card probably should be the guide that we use in order to allow us to conduct a proper pregame. My suggestion to us would be that we all participate in some way, allowing the referee to conduct the pregame, but we all should be a participant and not just nodding our head and going with the flow. It's important. And I think one of the things that I would say here is in regards to the pregame, it's a mindset, and it might even be a mind reset for some of us who are in the room while the pregame is going on. we had a tough night the night before, or perhaps we had a tough day at work. There could be a number of issues going on with you, and it would be good if we had a pregame. We might be able to collect our thoughts and get ready for tonight's assignment. Double and multiple whistles. When two officials sound their whistle about the same time, before we go anywhere, officials should make sure that they have immediate eye contact with their partner before making preliminary signals. Examples are, I have a charge as the lead. My partner has a block. I come out from underneath as the lead, and it's a two-person game, and I walk right on by them. That would be, that's a tough way to tell your partner, I got it and I don't need your help. We should really get together by making immediate eye contact before making any preliminary signals to see where we are. Generally, it occurs near the areas where the coverage areas intersect. Probably just at the top of the key in the free throw circle area, there's an overlap there. The officials ruling within their PCA should be the primary official for the ruling. So having knowledge of your primary coverage area in 2 or crew of 3 is vital. Here's a double whistle video and see if we've got a correct resolution here. See if this thing will run for us. Two officials up. He signals 2 shots as the lead. Interestingly enough, the trail continues to hold his signal as a foul, fortunately for us. But the lead's already decided that it's some sort of a foul, a blocking foul, and it's going to be 2 shots, and he's coming around. Here we watch our trail walking in. I would be curious, I'd love to have a microphone. I wonder if there was a conversation, or if our partner just simply didn't realize that he had our trail coming down, just simply didn't realize he still had his hand up, and they walk on by each other. But the lead is certainly taken charge of this ruling. And I'm just wondering how strong or how much of a good look he had. If you notice the trail stepping down, how'd the crew do on this one? Trail's a bit high, but starts to come down. Lead comes in, there's contact. Well, we're going to do a travel, and we're going to do and here's a very good example of, it looks like a foul from the lead and a traveling call from the trail. We've got a little bit of a cluster going here. And again, I don't think the video continues or allows us to continue. And I just wonder how they resolve this. Let's see if we see a resolution to this. Open hand traveled from the trail. Contact, no, yeah. Certainly, again, eye contact between the two. Critical in order to avoid open hand. I have a violation and my partner's coming out with a fist. And now he's looking across, but I don't think his partner, I don't know if he can see him or not, but again, just a good video to try and avoid open and closed fist. Clock awareness. When we put the ball in play, the official putting the ball in play should find a clock and make sure that it's been properly started. And after each whistle, check to see if the clock has properly stopped. Someone in the crew needs to know the clock, especially as we get down towards the end of a quarter or the end of the game. We don't use the 1 minute remaining with the finger up here in Maine, fortunately, so we don't have to worry about that. But we should be having those conversations with our partners and recognizing the clock. Here's a clock awareness video. How should the crew correct this time? Note the clock, ball goes through, okay, 7:40. Here we go, 7:40. And if we look at the time down below on the video, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, basket. 1 second's gone off the clock. I guess the question to the crew is, Now the coach steps out and goes, the clock never started. How would we go about correcting that if you were the R in this 3-person? Where are we going to get that information? Who's going to give us that information? So watch again. You'll see your trail in the 3 begin a count, but then it tends to fade. So I can certainly see, I think 1, 2, 3, she stops, the ball's across. We really don't have a count going. So how are we going to resolve this issue? Certainly our scorer timer definitely created an error, but how do we, without definite knowledge, know I need to put 6 seconds on the clock? I need to put 14 or 16 seconds on the clock because that's how much time elapsed. How would we know that? Remember as officials, we're putting time on the clock with definite knowledge from someone from the crew.
So in this case, Mark, would use the actual count she made and not what we think they would be made. So she
That's
made
correct.
a backward count?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I see 2 or 3. Perhaps maybe she looks at me and says, I had 6 seconds when she crossed the division line. Well,
Yeah.
if that's what we've got, then that's all we can do. And clearly, at least 14 seconds went off the clock here before anything came.
Very good.
Here's timing mistakes. Remember, the timing mistakes can be corrected any time as long as the official has definite knowledge. The official can use his or her count or other official information to rectify the mistake. So here we've got a very good example of an official coming up the floor with a count. Something happens with the clock, at least the official would be able to furnish to the table. I had a count of 6 or 7 as I came across the division line. I'm going to put 7 seconds on the clock. Remember, we want to inform the coaches, and if we need to get those coaches to the table, or at least inform them, our clock failed to start. I had a 7 count. Coach, I'm going to take 7 seconds off the clock, and we'll have to go from there. Remember the timer's equipment. If it fails, we don't have too many gyms that eliminate. I don't remember the last time I had a horn fail to sound, but the timer may have to go onto the court or use some other means to immediately notify the nearest official. I don't know if that'll be a clipboard or a shoe or something, but they're going to have to find some way in which to notify us that time has expired and our equipment failed and the game is over, or the quarter is over, or the game is over. Scoring mistakes. What do I have with scoring mistakes? This is the same game. This was just a really tough day for this crew. Here's the score earlier in the game. It's 10-4, and the video doesn't really show it here, but what I can share with you is the shooter is clearly inside the 3-point area. A basket goes in, it's a 2, they count it as a 3, nothing changes. The ball goes down the floor, the opponent's score. When can we correct? Is this a correctable error? I think you'll find that in our rules book that if we have a scoring mistake, we can do that at any time until the officials leave the floor and have verified the score. So we might go 3 more quarters before someone goes, hey, by the way, she shot a 3. You didn't signal a 3. Watch our center official. If this video will run somewhat decent, she doesn't signal a 3. Clearly the shooter's inside the arc. The ball goes in. There's no 3-point signal from the official. And for some reason, the scorebook or the scorer puts up 3 on the scoreboard. Clearly an error. At what point can we take care of this? At any time we discover it prior to us leaving the floor. If the scorer finds an error, here's the R. God bless the R. He gets to go over and he gets the explanation from the book. I for some reason I marked a 3 in the first quarter. Did anybody hit a 3? the referee may look at his partners and look over and say, did anybody have a three-pointer early? If we have definite knowledge, we can make that change. If the mistake cannot be found, this might be, say, late in the fourth quarter and no one can recall the first quarter with 2 minutes gone. If the mistake can't be found, the referee must accept the record of the official scorebook unless he or she has definite knowledge. Where would you go to find that? Next slide should show us a running progressive score. That's where we may have to go, because we cannot resolve this. The referee must accept the progressive team total of the official scorebook. Remember, a bookkeeping mistake can be corrected at any time until the referee approves the final score. So just for poops and grins here, we're tied at the end of regulation. The ball goes up for the extra quarter. Ball is banged around for a moment or two, and at 3:57 of the extra overtime period, the scorekeeper buzzes the referee over and says, hey, I found a mistake. Blue beat white. What do we do? Well, we know by rules, once that quarter starts, we play. We correct what's in the book and make it right. But once we started that overtime period, we have to complete it by rules. That's not us saying, sorry, coach, that's by rules. So we need to keep that in mind. Once the ball goes up for an extra period, we're in it for 4 minutes or 4 more minutes. Here's a scoring mistake video. Geez, I wish I had mine. Foot's on the line. If I remember, my trail official goes 3, 2, oh, then she goes, this is that taking your time. Pause, read, and react. We see the shot. We signal the 3 out to the side, up above our shoulder, as we normally would. We go to signal the 3 and then realize it's a 2. That trail official, who's now becoming the new lead, really needs to make sure that they haven't screwed up the book, the timer, the scorer, because now she's flashing 2. It may absolutely be necessary, even though this is 87-48, that she makes sure she makes good eye contact with that table, and they know that she fudged it. It wasn't a 3, it was a 2. And God forbid, she may actually have to blow the whistle, stop play, and just walk by the table and go, you realize I signaled a 3, my error, make sure that's a 2, and then put the ball in play. You may be forced to do that. Let's try a last second try and accrue a 2. The book of manual tells us that the trail official has the primary responsibility for that try. If for some reason that ball gets into the front court and the trail official is not in that half, and the try is taken, the official in that half court should assume responsibility. Leads, think of this in a 2-person game. If it's a quick pop down the floor and you're already out in front of it and your trail has not gotten into that half, you may have to pick up responsibility for that last second shot. So don't go to sleep. Recognize that if the trail's coming up and there's heavy traffic or they just didn't get up the floor on it and it's in your half, the lead is it's tag you're it. It's suggested that the official responsible for the last second try indicate responsibility by placing his or her hand on their chest. This is where eye contact comes in. This is where that last second shot, we need to communicate with each other as to how this is going to work.
Just to clarify, in the state of Maine, we always make accrue a 2, we always make it the trail official, and if you need help, ask for the lead. So the second bullet point is for the national level, and we've modified it just simply a little bit.
Thank you. Remember that officials should only sound their whistles to signify the end of a quarter period when we're ruling a try was not released prior. We don't have whistles at the end of our timing, or at the end of the time, unless we're telling somebody. It's imperative that the primary official in the last second try signal a 3 attempt, but don't give the 3-point signal unless you're responsible for it. If you get it up, you get the signal up, make sure you make eye contact across the floor to your center or trail in a crew of 3, and make sure, no, I saw it as a 3. communicate and allow them, that trail or center, to pick up responsibility for the signal, but make sure you make good eye contact with them. Here we are in a crew of 3 trying a last second try. Remember, the official opposite the scores table has primary responsibility. We're going to tap shoulders, we're going to tap our chest, we're going to tell them I'm the trail or I may be the center. If they're not in that half of the court and the try's attempted, the official in that half court should assume responsibility. In a crew of 3, we really ought to be able to get a couple of people down there, but in that odd circumstance where 2 officials are still in the backcourt, we just need to be as a crew together on it. It suggested the official responsible for the last second try indicate responsibility by placing a hand at his or her chest. Let's see if these videos are going to work for us. They're not even there. Yeah, here we go. Let's try this.
Sherwood, Allred, Clarkson, Peepo, the lineup.
Clock's ticking.
5 seconds.
Drive.
Allred.
Pick it up.
It's not for the state championship.
He's going to tell you, I saw it and it's good. Okay. All right. Now, notice his partner. Can we rewind that again real quick?
Sherwood, Allred, Clarkson, Peepo, the lineup.
Team ticking.
5 seconds.
Drive.
It's Allred. She picks it up.
Get it up.
For the championship. Unbelievable.
He goes to the table.
He's on the court here in Avondale.
Saying the best.
Folks saying no good.
Let's see it from another angle.
Mark, we couldn't hear you over the audio or the video.
Okay. Let's watch this through then. Notice your center official will be to your left. He does a good job getting in and getting around. Now watch the center. That'll be the trail. It's a good strong signal, and if this was smooth video, he's going to pump 3 times with his hands in the air, indicating that's a good try. But his partner is going to turn, acknowledge the losing coach, and tell him, yeah, I'm going to check it. Yeah. Here's the still photo. What we have here is a failure to communicate by the crew, and it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths because one of the officials didn't move quickly after the shot went up. He turned to the table. I'm not sure what he was discussing, but it certainly gives people the opportunity to say they may have missed it. Here's your still shot. Guess what? Your center / trail. He got it. He did it right. Just good education for us. We don't want to be there. Here's one with a last second with 0.3 or less remaining on the clock. Remember, a player may not gain control of the ball and try for goal. In this situation, they can only tap it. This rule doesn't apply when clocks don't display tenths of a second. Well, I think if we go to the next screen and we have a tip. This is Mr. Mertzel as your trail on your right. Note the clock, 0.3. Watch 25 white. It's going to be a really good lob, but if we can see it again, which I think it's going to for us, it's going to come to rest in his hand. It's going to go from a tap to a try. On the hand, goes to a try. As we say in America, no. And Jeff comes out spot on, no. Going to give one more, just for emphasis. Whistle, no. Then as he moves towards the table, you're going to see him kind of open his palm and touch his hand, kind of like a minor clap. But what he's telling coaches is, came to rest, you can't do that. That would be that you would have to cancel that goal. It was great coverage and great knowledge by him. Help situations and confidence. As you can see tonight, I can use all the help I can get because my system didn't work. But in help situations and conferences, either in crew of 2 or crew of 3, at times we're not going to be able to get where we need to get. How about in a crew of 2 and I'm your lead? Yeah, I'm on your crew, that's a problem, but I'm your lead for this particular event. It's a cross basket line for me and deep in a corner, and the ball pops out of bounds, clearly on my line. I don't have a clue. This may be where I need to ask for help, and I may literally step and make good eye contact with my partner and say, help, I didn't see, need something. And my partner may say, hey, we're going in this direction. In help situations, when the clock is stopped and the ball's dead, there's limited playing time, but there's communication between partners and table personnel. I have a note here from our actual rules and interpretations, and we talk about us falling asleep or taking time out. Officials have to stay alive even with the ball dead. Officials need to be aware, partner aware, and know what is going on, where the ball's going to go, who's going to get it designated or running the end line, in which way are we going, who's going to the free throw line, how many shots are they getting. There's a lot going on here, and we as officials, we need to remember that though the ball may be dead, there may be a timeout, we have to remain alive. Here's your help situation, help offered. Lead official rules the ball out of bounds off a team on the red jerseys. The trail official observed the ball was touched by white before the ball went out of bounds. The trail may step because the lead official has signaled the wrong direction. He may say, hey, just so you know, I think in the fourth line, the lead official can accept or reject the information. If the lead decides the ruling should be overturned, the lead should whistle and signal direction of, I want to say that where it said that it went off of red and it was not correct and it went off of white instead, I think that should be red down there if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if that's an error or if I'm missing something, TJ.
Moral of the story is whoever makes the original ruling, if they accept information, they're the ones responsible for signaling the new ruling.
Perfect. Help 2. Here in help 2, the lead official blows the whistle because the ball has achieved out of bounds status. He doesn't know how it got out of there. The lead didn't see who caused the violation and verbally requests help from the trail. If the trail has a ruling, the trail should verbalize a color and signal the direction. Here I may be the trail, and my partner steps out and goes, which way? And I go white and signal down the floor. In this case, the official giving help would be responsible for signaling the ruling. Injury situations. If a player appears to require immediate attention, officials should stop the game immediately, and we need to beckon appropriate personnel onto the floor. If the location of the injured player could cause imminent safety concerns, the game should be stopped. This is always a tough call for us. Folks, you know that as well as I do. Somebody goes down in a heap and they let out a bellow and they just grab their ankle or knee and they twist and turn. And as the players start down the floor, 9 people clear and suddenly we blow the whistle. Well, you know what? We blew the whistle. It is what it is. We'll stop play and we'll put the ball back in play once we get appropriate game management and medical staff to the person. However, if the injured player does not appear to require immediate attention and a scoring attempt is imminent, in other words, those 9 people cleared and there's a fast break for a team and they're going down the floor to score, we may check on that player from a quick glance, allow play to continue long enough to give them a scoring attempt if it's imminent. If they should stop and no longer attempt to play basketball or attempt a shot, we may blow the whistle at that point. We'll still give it to the team that's it's awarded to that had it, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to just blow the whistle immediately just because someone falls down, but we also don't want to take an opportunity for scoring away from a team. If bench personnel are beckoned and enter the court to attend the injured, the player must be removed for at least one tick of the clock. The player may not re-enter unless a timeout is granted. Remember, under our rules, the coach wants to buy his player or her player back in with a 30 or 60-second timeout. That's fine, just as long as after that first warning horn, that player is ready to play at the second horn. If bench personnel do not enter and the injured player is immediately ready, the ball should be put back in play without further delay. Here, literally, the player may have bounced right on the ball. He bounces up quickly. We blew the whistle, though the ball was still actively on the court. Player bounces up. Everybody kind of looks around. The official goes, okay. Kid goes, I'm good. We may give the ball. Now here, because we don't really have a possession, we may have to go to an alternating possession arrow. All kinds of different things can come into play here. But remember, we're responsible for the care and safety of the kids on the floor as well as ourselves. But here, if they're immediately ready to play, we put the ball back in play. Officials should not touch or attempt to provide treatment. There's a couple of pictures in here where we're having officials grab towels, and we might be, rubbing someone's shoulder, or we might, be holding someone down or something along that line. Strongly encourage folks not to touch or attempt to provide treatment to injured players. One of us should probably stay somewhere in the area with the injured players until the bench personnel arrive. But during the delay, teams can move to their timeout areas. Again, in our pregame, our card shows us the timeout areas. We know that that's a fairly large chunk of property, but we should get the teams to move to their bench areas and stay in their bench areas until the injured player is attended to. An official who stops play should immediately verbalize and signal how and where the ball is to be put in play. Remember, it's a point of interruption. There's nothing worse than a lengthy delay for an injury. Both of us are standing at midcourt. We're chatting about the night. That was a tough crash. Yeah, it was too bad she got hurt, jeepers. And then both of us draw a blank. Who's getting the ball? Where are we putting it in play? Nothing more embarrassing than to not remember how. Communicate with your partner, end line, white. It'll be a designated spot throw-in. And while you're doing that, you can always signal for someone to come onto the floor. You want to beckon as soon as you realize there's a serious injury. The team entitled the next AP arrow should be there. Would be awarded when play resumes. This is if we just don't know. We don't have possession. All right, what are we doing here? After conferring and verifying your pertinent information, you should move to areas on the court that are away from the injured player and continue to monitor the benches. The referee should confer with game personnel and inform the coaches, partners, and table how we're going to go back to play. This is why it's important for communication. Initially on the floor, tell your partner it's going to be a designated spot throw-in for white on the sideline. And then as we step away, remember, we don't want to be around the injured players because a coach may come out. He or she may eventually get to the injured player, but they may have a comment for you. And we're just inviting, if we stand there too long, for a coach to have a conversation that we can't engage in. When the injury situation occurs, the safety of the players has to be our priority. That said, officials should be wary of attempts to cause them to stop play. When doing so, will put a team that did nothing wrong at a disadvantage. So someone falls down on the floor, grabs their knee because they're not in a position to get into it's a 5-on-4 and they're the fifth man down on the other end, and they come up hobbling, screaming and hollering, hoping that we'll kill it. That would be an unsporting type of an event, and we would be forced to use by rule other measures to let them know, we know that you were doing something that was outside the rules. Here's your injury positions. For two-person on your left, just outside the jump circle, and the ball at a point, wherever it might be, end line or sideline, where the ball will be put in play. On your right is a crew of three. Notice that we're at the jump circle again, the division lines. Each of the two officials, these are injury position locations. each of them monitoring benches, and the official who's free or who's closest to the ball would pick up the ball and pull it to the sideline or end line. Again, putting themselves in a position to put the ball in play, keeping it on the hip. Right hip meaning down the floor, left hip closest to the end line and attacking basket.
State of Maine, we've moved all those off officials to the basket line. Just a point of reference.
Okay. Here's an injury video. Watch this young lady. She goes through the lane. She's going to stumble, grab her ankle. The ball's going to go down the floor, and immediately, as she pulls the ball back, the trail official or the center official, I guess here, stops play once he recognizes that the ball is not. They're not attacking anymore. She goes down. The ball is moving up the floor. And as the ball is pulled back, he immediately blows the whistle because she's injured. Again, we asked, was it stopped at the proper time? Yeah. Here's one. This is a good one. If it'll roll for us. Down goes the player. He's rolling around, flopping around. The official stops the clock. Watch what the official does. The kid's holding his face. I'm going to go with my partner has already beckoned someone on. Yeah, give me the ball. I'll take the ball. Thanks. Great. He's 5 feet from this kid who just got his nose popped. Watch carefully what the kid does. He's up. He's looking at the basketball official. There, throwing an elbow. Dude, he got me with an elbow. He got me with an elbow. All right. No, I'm good. I'm good. No, my nose is still connected. I'm okay. The official's still standing relatively close to him. We're not getting away from the players and getting ourselves set. Now he's probably telling him, okay, coach, he's got to come. Yep, there's a sub. You got to go. Watch the shirt. No, no, and hell no. That's, yeah, we need to address that. And watch him on the sideline. He doesn't sit. Oh, he threw an elbow. He got me with an elbow. And we've got our back to it, and we're just not addressing that. And that has to be addressed. And it certainly should have been something that was taken care of by the officials.
Any more, Mark?
Let's try one more. Did they beckon? Did they beckon the coach on properly? I want to say this is the one where we've got our hands on our shoulders. Yeah. Watch our lead official. Okay, it's a jump ball. Oh, there's an injury. Oh, look what he does. He's got his hands. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know what that is. I guess that's, and if you notice, the coach is already out on the floor. I don't know who beckoned. I'm going to go with our trail. Are you okay? Yep, good, thanks. And of course, now the trail official goes, no, coach, you came out. She's got to come. So at least we covered that. But again, stronger signals, a more definite signal to the coaches to make sure that they know they've been beckoned in. There's a good argument here that now that this trail official has a coach over his shoulder, he just come on the floor, or did you signal? I'd have to look at that video real close to make sure somebody said, coach, please enter, or injury. All right, where are we? Remember, when the head coach or other bench personnel is beckoned onto the floor to attend an injured player, the player must leave unless they use a 30 or a 60 timeout, and it's granted, and the situation can be corrected by the end of time. We've spoken about that. A player who exhibits signs of symptoms and behaviors consistent with concussion, we don't use the C word when we're talking to a coach. We say to them, coach, I have concerns for the injury to this player. They need to be immediately removed from the game, and they should not return until cleared by an appropriate healthcare professional. Remember at our pregame, what do we ask? Properly and legally equipped, right? Sportsmanship is emphasized. Do we have an athletic trainer or a healthcare professional in the building tonight? Some of the schools we go to, regrettably, it's the head coach, and he's the doctor as well as the head coach and probably the bus driver. So we need to ask those questions prior to, in our pregame, as a referee, and know who that appropriate healthcare professional is. Yeah, we watched this young lady go down. She hits her head pretty hard. Ouch. You can see that she's struggling and she's holding her head. At this point, yeah, we probably would want to at least give a coach a moment to, yeah, she's wandering. We watch her go down. That's a pretty solid strike of the head. I don't know if this is a crew of 2 or crew of 3. I can't really tell. But we should be acutely aware that this young lady is, what appears to be, is struggling. She's holding her head now. Someone should see that. And when she turns towards the camera again, you can see her struggle. Her balance. I've seen it. Seen that a few times roadside. You okay, pal? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. You're going to jail. All right. Moving on. I'll get out of those. Here's that photograph that I was referring to earlier regarding the officials wanting to help a kid who may be injured. If a player from each team is directed to leave the game, both teams must request and be charged a timeout to keep their respective players in the game. If both teams choose to use the timeout, the timeouts will be simultaneous. But here, I'm just reminding us, be careful about us becoming first aid workers. Our job is to officiate, but not necessarily be those medics and stuff. And yeah, there may be blood on the floor or something, but they have people assigned at different places to take care of that. So we want to avoid that because we don't want to have contact with it. Here's the blood procedure. If the bleeding is judged to be excessive, play should be stopped immediately. If the player is bleeding and has an open wound, the player should be directed to leave the game. The player cannot re-enter until the blood situation has been rectified. I think in the next video, we've got a quick snapshot of it. Lower front center. When the video goes off, you're going to see her right knee. She's got blood, and the official recognizes almost immediately there's blood. Nobody on the floor quibbles about it, but he spotted it. Despite them being on defense, there was no active offense going to the basket, but there's blood. Clearly there's blood. We need to blow the whistle for that blood, because there's potentially, if that ball comes in and she attempts to dribble to the basket or players converge, we could have blood issues. We could have blood being moved around a number of players. So if we see it, we should try and find immediately a place to stop the game and get that blood issue resolved.
Does someone have their TV on and unmuted? Please check this. Please check your screen, please.
Remember, under the substitution rule, a player is bleeding and has an open wound or blood on the uniform must leave the game unless they buy it with a timeout. Also keep in mind, the uniforms, they don't change them at the bench. They may have to go to a locker room, so they may have to be escorted to a locker room and have their shirts changed and then a uniform change, a number change in the scorebook. Perfectly legal for a blood-soaked shirt. We can't allow the blood to remain on the uniform and a player remain in a game with blood on his uniform. So please keep that in mind. These are some unusual situations. The referee's authority. The referee must make decisions at any point not specifically covered in the rules. So he may have to go to a coach and say, here it is. What's this one say? Team B has a lead with 67.2 seconds remaining. Team B, 11th, who is seated in the bench area, enters the court and fouls A1. Holy crap. The try is unsuccessful. What's the correct rule? What will we do there? B11, he's going to be ejected. We're going to be shooting technical foul free throws. Well, just food for thought here, folks, as we talk about this.
The point of the clip is you got to be fair. They came off the bench with the intention of committing a technical foul and only giving up 2 free throws. So you have the authority to be fair. You might want to give 3 free throws in this situation.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Here's the cluster. Here's the F word. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants to have to deal with it, but watch. We've got ourselves a fight. There goes the coach. Here comes two players. Oh, wait, I want to play too. The trail official comes in and doesn't see any of it. Watch. Players roll. Two officials close in on the play. They're going towards the altercation. Now there's a fight. Here comes the head coach. Okay. Followed by B6 and B7 who enter. And, oh, let's do the official. He wants to come in and play too, but he's not paying attention to the benches. So if you notice, 8 and 2 assistant coaches enter the floor as well. They're on the floor in this fracas. The only player left is B9, who just didn't leave the bench area, but we're not going to know that. And if the opposing coach says they all came on the floor, I'm not sure how the crew is going to know that and to properly assess technical fouls for players illegally entering the floor. Look where his back is to everything. He's the trail. The trail should have held ground and turned. I've been in more than one situation where we've had to turn and look at a bench or towards a table and make sure that the benches are behaving because of some rough play. An official turning, a trail official, stopping and turning at the table would have probably avoided some of these players from entering. But I'm not even certain we're going to catch any of that after this and properly assess technical fouls for players illegally entering. Here's something that we don't want to deal with. You notice the referee in the middle? The referee doesn't need to be in the middle. This is a dangerous situation for us. I would recommend, even though I was a cop and I go to these things and I deal with fights, when I'm in my stripes, I'm going to pull back and pull away and start making mental notes of names, of numbers. Black 5, black 24, black 7. There's 2 police officers already there trying to deal with this. There appears to be somebody in a suit. Don't know who that is. Don't care at this particular moment. Your back is exposed. I guess the only thing I can share with you there is, please be careful if you get into a fracas. Just know that if your 6 isn't covered, you could end up getting injured. The point really of this is Rule 2.5, referee's duties in fighting. If you have to declare a forfeit when conditions warrant, the referee has that authority to say this game is over and then declare a winner based on the forfeit rules. If we have a timeout or we're stopping play, like for fighting, or this picture's kind of fun because they're out of control, and if the official may just have to say, we're done here, we're done tonight. It's because of an unusual delay in getting a dead ball live or other situations or emergencies. I mean, if you have a skunk loose in the building or somebody pulls the fire alarm, we're gonna have to reset. Certainly, we're gonna have to know the time, the score, where the ball was, who had the ball. We're going to need to know those types of things. But if the timeout occurs and the clock, if running, must be stopped, and the official stops it because of an unusual delay, we need to communicate with each other and the timer score. This is how we're going to get the ball back in play.
So let's skip correctable error.
Nobody likes 210. Nobody wants to talk about 210. But remember, I believe in Maine we don't have the protest rule. But your forfeit, if you have to forfeit or there's an interrupted game, I strongly recommend that we all send a note to our interpreter that we were at this particular site and this particular event occurred, and I had to stop a game, interrupt a game. I had to walk away from a game at this particular moment because of, and then be specific as to what goes on. Remember, unless state rules determine otherwise, a game can be declared a forfeit when a team refuses to play after being instructed by an official, a coach is removed, and there's no authorized school personnel present. So if a coach comes with 9 kids on a bus and he gets ejected, the game is over. A player, team member, bench personnel, or coach fails to comply with any technical foul penalty. or repeatedly commits technical fouls or acts that makes a travesty of the game, we may be forced. Well, no, I don't want to say forced. We have rules support that allows us to forfeit a game because a team is making a travesty of the game, a team or a player. Remember, if we have a forfeiture, it's to the team in which the game is forfeited is ahead, the score stands. So in this particular case, the home team, the visitors forfeit, they don't like the officials' calls and they start to leave, it's 47-35. Remember in the rule book, if the visitors were playing nice and the home team decided they didn't want to play nice, we make it 2-0 according to the rules book. Great. I did that off the top of my head. That is scary. Yeah. Whenever a game is interrupted because of events beyond our control, the game will be resumed with one interruption. This is where it's important for us to know the time and the score, the quarter, and who was in possession of the basketball. We need to know that bit of information because depending on the conferences, and maybe who knows, maybe the MPA gets involved and says, nah, reset, and we're going to do the whole damn thing over again. Okay, it'll probably be left up to the schools though. We just need to get the information to the right people so they can make a good decision as to how we're going to move forward. From this point here, we're in the third quarter. It's 12 points, but there's a lot of time left. The schools may agree when we come back, we're just going to pick it up from this point, and this team had the basketball, and they may very well play it from that point of interruption. In summary, a brutal set of events. Game preventive officiating starts with a thorough pregame conference. I can't stress that enough, that if we can go into this with a mindset of we're going to try and be better than what's going on and be a strong crew and do good communication, have good eye contact, and take care of each other throughout a game, we can get through those challenging situations. We encourage the collaboration of all team members to build trust and communication. You've got to trust your partner. You can't wander outside your primary coverage area and decide you're going to pick up everything on the court, because if you do that, you're going to get yourself in trouble and it's just going to spin out of control. The conversations in your pregame may vary based on the experiences members of the crew may have. You may have a very experienced crew tonight, and you may be able to touch on some really specific things. But in most cases where we're working with a lot of younger folks, we may want to touch on just the basics of primary communication, trust, eye contact, pause, read and react, and take care of each other out there and make sure that we know what each of the other officials is doing, whether it's a crew of 2 or crew of 3. And there's more in regards to discussing the best practices, good immediate eye contact, slow it down, no preliminary signals on your foul calls, good court and clock awareness, come together if you need to. If you need to do it more than a couple of times a night, well, you know what? Don't hang yourselves out. Come together, know what you're doing, and work as a crew. A good night can be ruined in an instant if we don't. 31 minutes, 30 seconds of basketball can go right down the toilet if the last 30 seconds we decide to go on cruise control and it blows up in our face. So stay there for 32 minutes. Thanks, folks.